This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Everybody, welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. A lot of news to get to today. Interesting stuff here. We've got the Trump campaign trying to turn the president getting COVID into a positive. The spin is amazing. I can't wait to talk about that. That's a fantastic story. Then we've got coal miners not exactly happy with Donald Trump. We also have Trump struggling to breathe. That's more interesting stuff. Don Jr. wants an intervention. And finally, of course, we're going to talk about the story of Jonathan Price because there happens to have been an arrest. So in that case, good stuff. Good stuff today. So, all right. I believe we have some new Eddie Van Halen. Oh, wow. Yeah, 65 years old. That sucks. Yep. Okay, so that's breaking news. Well then. All right. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Twitch. Hello, Mean Beans over on Twitch. Trying to blame Joe Biden for not getting COVID. Oh, yeah. It's great. Let's see. Tom Cotton is fighting Mitch McConnell's choice to push their agenda back 2 weeks. Not surprising. Not shocking. Because, of course, Republicans, they want to still get things done, except it's just not the things that will help the American people. They are really working on, notice how what they're doing is trying to push Amy Coney Barrett and not at all talk about doing a stimulus bill. Already, apparently, the stimulus talks broke down again. And so we're not getting a stimulus before the end of the year. I think they're already on break again now until later on in October. And so, yeah, we're not going to get a stimulus. Of course, I think for the most part, most of you expected to not get one. So there's that. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get to the first story, actually. We're going to talk about the new argument against Biden, which is just amazing. All right. Oh, you know what? Before we get into the show, please like and share the stream. Very important. No matter what platform you're on, please share. Very important. Helps us out. And of course, give us a like. All of that helps. All right. Now, let's get into it. So we have a real interesting new take from the the Trump campaign when it comes to Donald Trump coming down with coronavirus. Apparently, Biden is no longer is qualified as Donald Trump to lead because, well, obviously Trump, he's got coronavirus, so he knows how to deal with it. Yes, this is an argument that they're making. In fact, one of Donald Trump's campaign operatives is going to go on Fox News and make that case. This is amazing.
Well, first-hand experience is always going to change how someone relates to something that's been happening. The president has coronavirus right now. He is battling it head-on as toughly as only President Trump can. And listen, that of course that's going to change the way that he speaks of it, because it'll be a first-hand experience. But you know, that experience of not only coronavirus but being president of the United States, that's why you just see a different tone overall from him.
But it's been law and order.
He has the first-hand experience.
Sorry, I'm running out of time. But it's been law and order, and it's been the economy. Does this become a key issue for your campaign?
And he's talked about coronavirus as well. He's talked about it all. And listen, he has experience as commander-in-chief. He has experience as a businessman. He has experience now fighting the coronavirus as an individual. Those first-hand experiences, Joe Biden, he doesn't have those. He doesn't know what it's like to create a job other than hunters. Joe Biden doesn't know what it's like to have to stand up and serve as commander-in-chief of this country. Joe Biden's been more worried about China than he has been about the United States. Those first-hand experiences are what are going to get President Trump 4 more years. So, of course, he talks about it differently now that he has lived through it.
All right, so we had some slight technical difficulties there. But basically, what in the ever-living fuck was that? She is literally making the argument that because Donald Trump contracted the disease by being a moron, i.e. going maskless around the White House, shaking hands, going to fundraisers, being a super spreader, basically doing everything that you're not supposed to do when you have this virus, and that somehow, in the upside-down, insane world of Trump, makes him more qualified to deal with COVID-19. What? You've got to be kidding. I mean, how does doing the wrong thing for the entirety of the pandemic, and I'm saying, you know, not just himself personally, but the response from his administration, how does that prove that you can handle and do a better job than Joe Biden? What? That is an unbelievable argument. And yet, here they are. They are literally making that argument. And they think, no. Nailed it. He's never had coronavirus, so you can't lead in coronavirus. Really? Well, okay, what's to stop somebody from saying, hey, you know what, I stuck my finger in a light socket. I think you should make me president of the electric company because I have experience with electricity. I mean, assuming you survive the whole ordeal, maybe you've got a point. Or maybe they'll just throw a dunce cap on you because it's fucking stupid. Look, it's mind-boggling to me, this entire thing. And I'm sure some MAGA dipshit is out there saying, yes, let me tell you, he understands me. He got the hoax, and he proved that it's not real by getting a special airlift to a military hospital, a presidential suite, and a cocktail of experimental drugs that have not even been approved for use. And I could never afford because I don't have insurance. I mean, come on. He understands what me and the average American is going through. It's amazing. It's amazing. Walter Reed Medical Center, by the way, very important to point out, is a public hospital. It is funded by taxpayer money. Donald Trump, ironically, has received the best socialized medicine our money can buy. And you know what? He got it at a bargain. $750. If you do not realize by now that he is a complete scam artist, nobody's ever going to reach you. You are a lost cause. Ugh. All right. Let's move on here. Insanity. Just insanity. President Trump is back from the hospital, and he's not really looking all that good. Yeah, look, you can't look at that and be like, oh, no, that guy, he's looking fine. What are you talking about? He looks great. Not in that video. Look, he looks like, to me, somebody who's having some breathing issues, which makes sense because the guy's got coronavirus, which attacks the lungs. And look, I realize I'm not qualified as a doctor. Fair enough, right? What would I know? Okay, so I'm going to quote a couple of doctors who saw this. This is Dr. Ian Schwartz, an assistant professor at the University of Alberta, who happens to be an expert in lung diseases of the lung. So it seems like he would be pretty qualified, right? He said this is a textbook example of increased work of breathing. In addition to using normal respiratory muscles, the diaphragm and those between the ribs that expand the chest cavity, accessory muscles in his neck are kicking in to help him draw breath. So, look, it's not like it's super raggedy, but come on, it seems like he's having a little bit of trouble, which makes sense, again, because he's got coronavirus. All right. There's another doctor from the UK who talked about this. He said, if you look at the video on the balcony of the White House, he's clearly having difficulty breathing. Dr. Zoe Norris, a general practitioner and lecturer, told BBC Breakfast early Tuesday. That is not a man. That is better. I don't understand why this is controversial. Pointing out how the president does not seem to be well because he is confirmed to have a virus that is devastatingly bad for people in his age group with his comorbidities. And yet, somehow, this has turned into a stupid, dumb political fight. When really, like, we should actually care about, the health and well-being of the president of the United States. And yet, it's dumb. You got MAGA people that are like, "Dude, what are you talking about? He's fine. He's fine. He's great. You tell him, King. You tell him how good you're doing. You're those stupid liberals with their empathy and understanding." And then, look, at the same time, on the other side, like, I don't know. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's so dumb. And it's being led, of course, by the top. All right. Anyway, earlier, by the way, today, Donald Trump tweeted this. He said, "Feeling great," in all caps. So just to cement it, like, no, what are you talking about? I feel great. I feel fantastic. Well, okay, to be fair, earlier, it's probably the dexamethasone. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, dexamethasone is one of the steroids that he's getting. And so maybe it makes sense that he hasn't felt this good in 20 years. It's a freaking steroid. Some of the effects of taking such a powerful medication, normally reserved, by the way, for severely ill patients, is elation, mania, and delusion. Yeah, he might be feeling good. Doesn't mean he's well. Doesn't mean he's in good health. I'm just saying. And yet, I'm going to show you. He's going to go on to make another video about how, no, you don't understand. I'm doing effing amazing. Don't worry about it.
Coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there. Be careful. We have the best medicines in the world, and it all happened very shortly, and they're all getting approved, and the vaccines are coming momentarily. Thank you very much. And Walter Reed, what a group of people. Thank you very much.
The best medicine in the world. Yeah, well, you do. You're the president of the United States. Obviously, you're going to get the best health care in the world. That doesn't mean, like, and this is the thing, right? He's going to tell the average MAGA idiot, MAGA chud, that, like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Don't let the fear take over your life. He's like, yeah, that's right. I'm going to go out without my mask. I'm going to be fine. We got medicines. Really? Some of the medicines that he had taken are reserved for critically ill patients. And one of the treatments, by the way, is not even FDA approved. And then, oh, I love this too. The vaccine, it's going to become momentarily. No, it's not. The vaccine is still quite some time off. I mean, it's just, it's constant. It's constant. And look, to help his argument, I guess, you could say, he doesn't look too bad there, I guess. That's fine. Maybe he actually does feel okay. But, okay, some people have made a comparison, and I think it's pretty fair, between this and Herman Cain. Herman Cain, I should say the late Herman Cain, because he's dead. He died of COVID-19 several months ago. Now, one person on Twitter made this interesting timeline. It's Tim O'Brien, and basically pointed out the days. 6/24, he attends a Trump rally, doesn't wear a mask. He got COVID, likely from that Trump rally. 7/2, tests positive for COVID-19. About 8 days later, says, oh, don't worry, guys, I'm improving. My situation is actually getting better. 7/15, it's 5 days later, says, my doctor seemed to be getting pretty happy. And then 7/27, it's almost 2 weeks later, he says, don't worry, guys, I'm really getting better. Things are really improving here. 3 days after that, he dies from complications due to COVID-19. I mean, come on. The point I'm trying to make here is, this virus is deadly and it's unpredictable. And yet Donald Trump and the Republican Party are playing stupid political games. Games that could cost him his life. And does he care? I don't even know. Even at this point, like, yes, he could be dying just to own the libs. Just to make sure that we're not, right. Look, I think Donald Trump's a terrible person, but I'm not going to wish death on him. I'm not wishing death on anybody. Of course, right? All I want for Trump to do is to take responsibility and ownership and to do the right thing the country needs for combating this virus, so that thousands more Americans do not die from this virus needlessly. Now, has he done that? Nope. Not at all. He has done, again, the complete opposite. 3 days. 3 days he spent at Walter Reed. He is still contagious. And the first thing he does when he goes to the White House is takes his mask off. He hasn't learned a goddamn thing. He hasn't heard a goddamn thing. And you know what? He's back to downplaying the virus. And it's amazing. And then, of course, in his condition, he tries to still do all this stuff to avoid looking weak. And then, of course, he's telling people not to worry about it. Go ahead. Don't let the fear rule you, right? And I'm very concerned about the message that is sending to his followers. Because some people are going to get this as, well, it's fine. Look, Donald Trump, he's fine. Don't take precautions. Don't wear your masks. Don't socially distance. I'm fine. You'll be fine too. So don't worry about it. It is really, really dangerous and irresponsible. And finally, we don't even know his real condition. And look, it's tough to know. Even Dr. Conley wasn't being necessarily forthright. When asked about Trump being on oxygen by a reporter, he was super cagey, saying he's like, well, he wasn't on oxygen today. Okay, but what about the entire stay? Well, he wasn't on oxygen today. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Was he ever? Well, he's not today. Come on, dude. No, this is deeply concerning. And by the way, at the same briefing, Dr. Conley, where he said Donald Trump was doing fine, he also warned that it would be about a week until we know if Donald Trump made a full recovery. He said, if we can get through to Monday, October 12th, with him remaining the same or improving, better yet, then we will all take that final deep sigh of relief. Well, I mean, that's assuming that he can breathe, which we don't even know. Apparently, he seems to be having quite a bit of a hard time with it. Commenting to the Washington Post, by the way, is Daniel Call, an infectious diseases expert at the University of Michigan. He said that somebody who's Trump's age with a similar severity of infection, and it has been called at least a moderate infection, even though he's been taking drugs that were reserved for people with a severe infection. He said, quote, such patients usually have a pretty slow recovery with weeks and sometimes months of cognitive difficulties, shortness of breath, severe fatigue. And again, you guys know he's been taking those medications, so it really kind of makes you wonder how much we really know about the president's true condition, because I think it's fairly obvious he ain't going to tell us. Amazing. You know what I need to do? I need to get that clip, that audio clip of that guy who says, amazing. The beta male guy. I forget his name. Which makes it hard to get the clip. But I use that way too much. All right. Moving on. Let's do one more story before the break. Let's go to coal miners. Trump wants to die in the White House in order to haunt it. I saw a tweet on that, by the way, that was pretty funny. Somebody's like, oh, don't worry. The ghosts of the slaves who built it got a little something for him if that happens. Oh, okay. Anyway. Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you, Monica G. Yes, Jesse Lee Peterson. Amazing. Okay. Anyway. President Donald Trump is facing a tough re-election, especially in places like Pennsylvania and Arizona. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is losing by about 3 points. So it's a little bit of a narrow lead for Joe Biden, whereas in Arizona, Biden seems to be leading by about 8 points. And now, well, Trump, it's getting a little bit worse because in those places, Trump's starting to lose to coal miners as well. So how do I know this? Well, the New York Times did a deep dive into coal country, talked to a couple of people about why Trump is losing them, not necessarily to Biden, but just losing them overall. And that's really interesting. Now, this is despite Donald Trump bending over backwards for coal miners. In fact, one miner who worked at the Kenta coal mine in Arizona, which is closing down, a man named Alvin Long, 61 years old, so he's been working at these coal mines for some time, said, quote, we really thought we had a chance to keep it going when we voted for Trump, but I don't care to listen to him anymore. Really, I don't care to listen to him anymore. All of his promises, he says, went down the drain. He remarked before adding that he has been voting for Republicans, including Trump, since the 70s, but no more. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to vote for Biden, but he ain't voting for Donald Trump. Now, the former president of the United Mine Workers of America in Arizona, a woman by the name of Marie Justice, said about Trump, quote, we were lied to. Every time we turned around, they kept telling us coal miners they would save our jobs. That is what we heard from Trump, but the mines keep closing. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, so look, in reality, I'm actually going to give Donald Trump, well, I'm not going to go after Donald Trump on this specifically, other than the fact that, of course, he lied. Because really, there's no way to save the coal industry. It's dying. There's nothing that Donald Trump could do or ever do to save coal. It's being replaced. It's already been replaced a lot by natural gas, which is cheaper. In fact, Foreign Policy stated that Foreign Policy magazine states that natural gas is today the biggest single source of fuel for America's power plants. Coal is an industry you cannot save. It's dead. It's dead. And according to Peter Schulman, historian at Case Western Reserve University, the president never had a chance at being successful, and that he was only just looking for votes in the short term, so he's pandering. All right, well, that makes sense. Trump's pledges to coal miners were rhetorical appeals to hardworking blue-collar Americans, like when Nixon put a hard hat after a meeting with labor union leaders back in the 70s. There was no policy Trump could have implemented that would have changed this situation with coal. And since it can't be saved, the question is, and this should be taken up by all of our politicians, how do you cushion the blow for workers? Now, I care about the workers. Yeah, I don't really care that coal itself is being shut down. I think it's good for the environment that it gets shut down. But what do you do with the workers? Well, these workers got to have something, okay? And I think we need to make sure that coal miners have jobs with equivalent pay and benefits to what they had before, or perhaps better, okay? Now, that would involve having a plan to help transfer them to other industries while allowing them to still take care of their families, in ways where they don't have to spend years and years training for something new as well. I mean, that's why I think free education and healthcare is important to help people who can retrain do so, or even like generous retirement benefits, things like that, or even give them something. We got to do something for people, okay? It's not their fault their industry is dying. Now, unfortunately, neither party, at least neither candidate, wants to really do anything about that. Joe Biden just told them to learn how to code, as if, that's going to help the 61-year-old mine worker who's got 4 years to retirement and who is now unemployed. Yeah, that's not going to really help him. Oh, go ahead and learn to code. No, tone deaf. 100% tone deaf. And, of course, Donald Trump hasn't done anything except for reward lobbyists and coal executives and coal mine owners. So he's not really doing anything to help. In fact, Trump's plan was to stock his administration with executives from the coal companies and, take money from lobbyists, take money from the industries, eliminate regulations, and, of course, try to intervene personally in some of these coal mine closures and to try to prop them up with the government, which, unfortunately, doesn't work and only helps the people at the top, not the actual coal miners. These mines, simply put, are closing because there's no demand for it anymore. It's more expensive than natural gas, and when you factor in climate change, way more expensive than solar and wind. And I feel bad for the workers. I really do. Okay? If you voted for Trump and you did so because it's like, man, he's trying to save my job. I get it. I do. I totally understand that. I still think it was dumb to believe him because he's a con man. But what else do you do when Hillary Clinton comes to your state and says, I'm going to shut down coal. I'm going to eliminate your job. All right. I get it. I mean, if you're not going to explain how you're going to, shut down this industry that is doing massive damage to the environment, but if you're not going to explain how you're going to take care of the workers and their families, and you just say, ha ha, I shut down your job, you're not going to get any votes. And I remember criticizing Hillary Clinton, and I remember a lot of lefties criticizing Hillary Clinton for that back in 2016. It was a dumbass move. Whatever political consultant that came up with that needs to get fired or needed to get fired. And apparently they ended up getting a job on Joe Biden's campaign with that whole "you should learn to code" thing. It's dumb, super dumb, super dumb. All right. That said, everybody knows coal is dead. It ain't coming back. And again, it's super good for the environment. I'm actually really glad. But understand that nobody seems to be talking about the human cost of, getting rid of these coal jobs, what these people are actually going to end up doing. And again, I know there's a bigger cost to climate change, but again, this is why we need big, bold proposals like the Green New Deal. Millions of jobs would be created, brand new industries, and it would be environmentally sound. It's just good policy overall. Good policy and a real no-brainer. And unfortunately, we don't have any candidate who's going to do that. We do have one candidate who's going to pander and lie to these people because he can't deliver, and he knows it, and another who won't go far enough to ensure the workers can get retrained and put in better jobs. He will not commit to a Green New Deal. And so, they're stuck. These workers are stuck, and they're pissed off. And they should be. And we should absolutely understand where they're coming from, even if we don't agree with them politically in a lot of these cases. Politicians have to be much, much better at being able to appeal to people and, working class people. And they're just not. The Democratic Party is terrible when it comes to working class, at least messaging to working class voters, and people like Donald Trump are just absolute grifters. And so here we are, we're stuck. And yes, there are some Trump voters that are starting to see the light and say, oh man, it turns out that this guy from New York who ran a bunch of shady businesses that shut down and even a shady ass college has screwed me over too. I never would have seen it coming. Well, maybe you should have. And maybe that's also the fault of the media for not focusing on that and not talking about how, who Donald Trump really is. That's what it is. I don't know. Either way, it's a disaster for these workers, but it's also going to translate into a political disaster for Donald Trump. All right. I'm going to take a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Donald Trump Jr. and his intervention. That should be interesting. And then we've got the shooting of Jonathan Price. So more details than that. We'll be right back around the nation. Please, like and share.
There are some whores in this house. Wet ass P word.
Wait, you're getting nervous, man.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so let's see. I I want to read some super chats from you guys. You've been very, very generous here. LL says, "Are you a COVID expert?" Well, I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. I remember those commercials. Good one. Goku Just Saying says, a 5-year-old touches a keyboard, literal first-hand experience. That's enough to be a computer analyst for the FBI or CIA to prevent hacking. They'll never guess that 5-year-old's password because it's incomprehensible gibberish. Indeed. or just let Trump near a keyboard. That would work too. All right. Adrian Benningfield says that maggot is a great word for one of Trump's sycophants. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of names. Maggot Chud, Maggot, as I said before. I can't think of any others, but there are plenty more. Let's see. Goku Just Saying again. Trump took a steroid shot equivalent to a large tube of the fictitious drug nucleic. Okay. That's a reference. Okay. I get what you're saying. Let's see. Virginia Thomas, by the way, says we might not have liked Hillary's plan, but she did tell him the truth. Should have went with Bernie. I agree with you. Should have went with Bernie. Because Bernie actually has a Green New Deal. I know. And it would have been better. And it would have actually helped more people. But no, had to go with Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden this time. So it feels like we struck out twice. We had two chances. We had one chance. We screwed it in 2016. And it's like, all right, come on. America, you can get this right. Nope. Got it wrong again. But it looks like from a lot of the polls, Joe Biden is going to end up beating Donald Trump. Unless, of course, they pull some really, and I think they're trying, real shady stuff with the mail-in ballots. They're going to try to throw them out. All right. Let's go to Trump Jr. All right. Apparently, Donald Trump Jr. is worried about his dad's mental state following his hospitalization and release from Walter Reed Medical. And that's, of course, for coronavirus. Now, according to Vanity Fair's Gabriel Sherman, the president's eldest son has been alarmed by his behavior for over the past couple of days. Now, that's really, really interesting. So, of course, some of his behavior involved, and I covered the story yesterday, Donald Trump just tweeting out in all caps for like an hour, and starting at about 6:30 in the morning, tweeting stuff like, Space Force, vote. All right. That's a little weird / manic. But okay. All right. On that, and other things, Don Jr. has said that he wants to stage an intervention to basically tell his dad, hey, cool it on the tweeting and just focus on getting better. All right. Hey, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay. But apparently there's something that's stopping him from doing that. And that would be Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. Oh, that's interesting. So apparently, one source tells Sherman, quote, Jared and Ivanka keep telling Trump how great he's doing. I'm basically encouraging him, hey, keep going, man. Keep going. Interesting. And so, as a result, Don allegedly said, I'm not going to be the only one to tell him that he's acting crazy. So he's got no backup on this. Now that's interesting. And yet, even Jared and Ivanka reportedly agreed with Don Jr. that the president's Monday morning all-caps tweet storm, which included messages such as Space Force, went over the edge. Quote, they're all worried. They've tried to get him to stop tweeting. Good luck. Earlier today, he just tweeted in all caps, feeling great, all caps. Because it's cruise control for cool. Well, look, to be fair, if I were on steroids like he is, I might be feeling great too. Just wait till you come down off that. Not going to feel good. And that, of course, is the concern, by the way, according to Sherman's report. The Trump family's private concern about Trump's behavior could raise questions about his fitness for office. And I've seen reports where even like a one-day takeover by Vice President Mike Pence, and of course I have to play the obligatory
Mike Pounds.
Even a one-day takeover is unacceptable to Trump. He says, no, I'm not going to hand it over. Not in your life. Okay. So he's really worried about being, supplanted, having somebody take over his authority. And so he's really worried about that. Okay. And look, I don't know about you, but I think somebody who has a virus that and is taking medication that can cause some issues with your brain might want to take a few days off. Maybe a week or so, or however long it takes for you to get better. It would be nice. It would be nice. That said, those drugs are described by medical experts as impairing, something that can seriously impair cognitive function. And on Sunday, the New York Times reported that the steroids that Trump is taking, specifically dexamethasone, are known to affect mood, causing euphoria or general happiness, as well as other issues. There could be some other issues here. So, look, that's a problem. Combine that. This is something that I didn't know, but apparently there's a long history of the Trump family in denying serious illness, which could explain Trump himself, his reaction to having coronavirus and his actions. In fact, according to a Trump family friend, Trump's father, Fred Trump Sr., had insisted on working even after his Alzheimer's disease advanced back in the 1990s. He said, quote, "To retire is to expire." So he used that all the way until, obviously, he couldn't do anything anymore. That friend said that as Fred Sr.'s disease worsened, he once came down the stairs wearing 3 neckties at once. The family then created a system so that Fred could think he was still running the Trump organization. Every day, Fred Sr. would go to the office in Brooklyn, right? And they would give him blank papers to sign through. The phone on Fred's desk also was set up so that it could only dial out to the secretary. According to that family friend, Fred, quote, pretended to work. Pretended to work. Oh no. Oh no. Oh God. Oh God. What if? Look, it is not the first story that I've seen where it was implied that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump were actually running the show as opposed to Trump himself. I mean, we've seen Donald Trump. He doesn't study for anything. He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't pay attention to briefings. He doesn't pay attention to news stories. He doesn't read. He's not a one-pager kind of guy. He's like a half-pager. Even if he can get through that and they have to put his name through everything. Do you think he really does any of his work? Who's really in charge here? Could be President Kushner for all we know. I don't know. And maybe it's because Trump's lazy, or maybe he is just too mentally incompetent or incapacitated to even do his job. And what if that they have a similar system? I'm not saying that this is true. This is all speculation. Okay? But maybe I don't know, maybe they're just giving off the illusion that he's actually doing his job when he's really not. When the real power behind the family right now is his family members and his advisors. Again, I don't know. It's honestly, mental illness is something I don't like to think about too much. But the possibility is, given what we've seen so far, is certainly intriguing. But I can't draw any conclusions about it, really. But it is interesting how Don Jr. seems to be raising the alarm and saying, hey, whoa, maybe we should have an intervention here. Donald Trump needs to take some time off and time away and chill out and dial it back a little bit and not maybe do any of these insane tweets. And, of course, you have, other than the tweets, Ivanka and Jared encouraging him, no, keep doing basically what you're doing, despite the of course, very real danger to his health and the health of others. I mean, driving around in a hermetically sealed car, waving at his followers, going into the White House, taking off his mask, and doing these videos where obviously there's a little bit of editing, probably to edit out coughing because he does have coronavirus. I mean, that stuff does some real danger to your health. I don't know. It's crazy. All right. A Texas police officer has been arrested in the shooting death of Jonathan Price. So Jonathan Price was killed on Saturday when Wolf City police officer Sean Lucas basically killed him at a gas station in North Texas. Now, that officer, Sean Lucas, was arrested on suspicion of murder in the death of Price, according to a statement made by the Texas Department of Public Safety. So, okay, what are the details? Well, on Saturday night, police were called to a domestic disturbance. Now, apparently there was a fight happening at a gas station, and Price had intervened to stop. Now, police officers, I guess, initially believed that he was part of that disturbance, that he was in there when he was actually just trying to break it up, according to his civil rights attorney, Lee Merritt, who's representing the family. Now, he says that that shooting was, of course, not justified, unjustified shooting death, and that's why he's, of course, representing the family and challenging the police department's response to it. So now when police arrived, when first Merritt said that Price had seen a man assaulting a woman and had gotten involved to stop it. When police arrived, Merritt said Price raised his hands and tried to explain what was going on. DPS said then Lucas tried to detain Price, who, quote, resisted in a non-threatening posture and began walking away. Lucas then fired a taser at Price and then immediately shot him afterwards. So there's a lot to this story. For one, why would you try to detain somebody for not committing a crime? For, breaking up a fight. I mean, if you listen to him and his account, like, hey, look, I didn't do anything. I saw these people fighting. I tried to break it up. What am I supposed to do? I didn't do anything, so, I'm not involved. All right. I mean, look, there's this resisting in a non-threatening posture. What does that even mean? He just put his hands up, and he's like, all right, I'm not involved. I'm going to leave. And you walk away. I don't know. I mean, and by the way, like, again, why was he under arrest? What crime did he actually do? I mean, this is why people say ACAB, all right? Because we have a system right now that trains officers to believe that people that are non-threateningly walking away, because no crime committed, all right, deserve to be tasered and then shot. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And yet here we have Price, another black man, not being violent, not being armed, and still being just unjustifiably shot and killed by a police officer. It's insane. And by the way, the DPS report found that the preliminary investigation of this incident indicates that the actions of Officer Lucas were, quote, not objectionably reasonable. So, unreasonable. Well, that would make sense. And now Lucas was booked into the Hunt County Jail on a $1 million bond. So, yeah, they found it was unreasonable to first tase and then shoot and kill this black man. Oh, you don't say. Gee, I wonder if I could have came to that conclusion. Now, the thing is, the family lawyer, again, says it shouldn't have taken even 3 days to arrest this officer because it was so obviously unwarranted. And I agree with that. I mean, yes, it seemed very unwarranted here. But you could also argue that these investigations do take time, to be fair. Now, that said, people are actually defending this cop. It's amazing. So now, in fact, during a prayer vigil for Price, a white man who was armed arrived to the scene with a semi-automatic weapon, a rifle. Things apparently got pretty heated. They were shouting at each other, and there was even an attempt to chase this guy's, chase him off the property away from that vigil. Thankfully, nobody was shot, but still, according to TMZ, police arrived on the scene minutes later, despite calls from the crowd to have the man arrested for allegedly pointing his gun at the BLM protesters. The man was allowed to leave after a long talk with the officers. No arrests were ultimately made. So I'm just going to go on a limb here and assume that this person is MAGA. That this is a MAGA conservative, anti-Antifa, protester who saw a bunch of black people get together for this vigil and said, oh, no, hell no, I'm going to grab my gun. And that's exactly what he did. And he shows up at this vigil. And obviously, people are pretty heated. It's an emotional moment. It's an emotional time. A black man just got unjustifiably murdered by a police officer. And this guy shows up and starts, obviously there's yelling, there's carrying on. And then there's, at some point, allegedly pointing a gun at the protesters. That's crazy. And then the police are like, they talk to him a little bit. Now, think about it if the situation were reversed. Say, white person was killed by a black police officer. And a bunch of All Lives Matter people held a vigil for this police officer, right, that was shot and killed. All right. And so what if this black guy comes up and he's got a gun? And he starts an argument. Doesn't shoot anybody, doesn't do any violence, but just is there and has a gun. Do you think the police officers would go and talk to him and then allow him to leave without being arrested? Do you think that would be a situation that would happen? Not in your life. You'd be insane. And unfortunately, this is what happens. There is this double standard that does not apply to both sides. The whole thing, it just never stops. So, yeah. All right. It's kind of all the stories that I have today for you guys. I could do an Amy McGrath ad, but I actually don't have the ad. I couldn't find it. So I don't know if you want to listen to that anyway. But it's Amy McGrath apparently doing pro-Trump ads. I guess I can describe it. So we'll do that. All right. Well, let's get rid of the sidebar here. It appears establishment Democrats are trying to blow it in a state that is a swing state. So now, Amy McGrath, she's a Kentucky Democrat. She's running against Mitch McConnell. She is putting out ads that are pro-Trump in nature and running them in Kentucky as well as in Ohio for some reason. So now this particular ad features a man named John W. from Paducah, Kentucky, and says that basically that he was a Trump voter and is a conservative and still supports Donald Trump, but that he cannot support Mitch McConnell. He said Mitch McConnell voted for 16 trade deals and sent jobs overseas, and that's crap in my book. That's basically stabbing the knife in my back, as well as other Kentuckians. 36 years is long enough. If President Trump wants to drain the swamp, let's start with Mitch McConnell. I'm voting for Amy. So this is a pro-Trump ad that is anti-Mitch McConnell. That's what the Democrats have decided to go with in Kentucky. Now, look, you might think, hey, look, Jeff, you don't know Kentucky. All right, they're very pro-Trump there. And you'd be right. It is very pro-Trump. And maybe there's a certain, I don't know, intelligence in going with a strategy that appeals to some Trump Republicans to win. Okay, maybe that. And this is I don't know. Let me just kind of float this one out there. Do you remember a certain presidential candidate or a primary candidate who got a room full of Trump supporters to cheer for socialized medicine? I remember that. That man is Bernie Sanders. Now, that said, Bernie Sanders is not on the ballot in November, not nationally or in Kentucky, which is a shame. But there's more than a few Trump supporters that would have supported Bernie Sanders, all because of his policies. Things like Medicare for All, which actually did pretty well with conservatives, Trump voters especially. Overall, and this number is astounding, when it comes to health care, 46% of Republicans support it. 69% of Americans support Medicare for All. You know who else supported it? Amy McGrath's opponent in the primary, Charles Booker. Now, Charles Booker did not win because, of course, he faced not only no name recognition, which is really, really important when it comes to races, but also, you had a mountain of cash from the establishment. And you had all the establishment Democrats lining up and donors lining up behind Amy McGrath. And, of course, there's this, you don't understand, we have to go to the right in order to appeal to Republicans so that Republicans will vote for us in November. Well, now, how is that turning out? Not good for Amy McGrath. I mean, again, that conventional wisdom of the Democratic Party says, well, in these Republican states, these red states, or not even in red states, but if we have a Republican opponent, we must go to the right in order to appeal to the Republicans and ignore our progressive base. And so we can't have anybody like Charles Booker. We have to have Amy McGrath. And again, how is that going? Well, according to Quinnipiac, one of the more recent polls in September, the end of September, McGrath trails McConnell by 12 points, 53 to 41 among Kentucky voters. That said, look, I'm not saying Charles Booker would have 100% won. He might also get blown out. It's Kentucky. But he also might have had a better chance than Amy McGrath. We just don't know. We don't have really a chance to see. Because the establishment basically came in and said, we're going to stop this progressive. We're going to use the Allison Lundergan Grimes strategy. We're going to chase the progressive out. We're going to make sure that they don't get a chance to run in Kentucky, because you don't know. He could have actually performed better had he had the backing of the Democratic Party in the primary, or I'm sorry, in the general. But again, we don't get to see that. And so now you have a right-wing Democrat who's saying, Trump is great. Yes, literally saying Trump is good on these issues, and that's why we should not, support Mitch McConnell. You should vote for me because I will help Trump's agenda. It's insane. I mean, again, making the entire case that Donald Trump is correct. And I don't know. Again, maybe it's smart to go for pro-Trump stuff. In Kentucky, he won by 30 points. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Interestingly enough, though, that's not even my main point of this ad. As HuffPost puts it, the ad is also appearing in Ohio. Why in Ohio? That's really strange. But the problem, as HuffPost puts it, is that a Democratic candidate is paying for television spots praising Donald Trump in a state where former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign is spending millions of dollars to win in November. So basically, her campaign, at least up until a few days ago when they pulled the ad, was helping Donald Trump against Biden in a swing state, in an important state like Ohio. Come on. Look, Amy McGrath, and this is the thing that frustrates me too. Amy McGrath's been raising a lot of money. She's been getting a lot of donors. She's been getting a lot of support. People have been donating to her campaign. Stop it. Just no. Stop. She's not going to win. There are much better races, much closer races you could actually give money to that would make an impact. For example, Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison could beat Lindsey Graham. Right now, they are pulling neck and neck. Whereas, I almost called her Allison Lundergan Grimes because that's basically who she is. Amy McGrath is behind by 12 points to Mitch McConnell. Not going to win. Not going to off Mitch. And she's using this money to do weird swamp, the Swampy Mitch cartoons that are, weirdly, again, pro-Trump. Because, hey, looks like I can't believe Mitch McConnell is stopping Donald Trump from lowering prescription drug prices. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that she's running. You are lighting your money on fire. No, donate to somewhere else. Her main argument, again, is that he is the biggest roadblock. And Mitch McConnell, the biggest roadblock against Trump's agenda. She is a pro-Trump Democrat. And McGrath, to kind of hammer it home, she would have voted to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. Oh, before changing her position, because she got a lot of crap from the left about it. So she's not even sincere. And her ads might hurt Biden in a place where, again, Biden, he does need to win as much as he can in as many states as he can to prevent Donald Trump from stealing this election. And so she's a disaster. Don't waste your money. Put your donations somewhere else. Again, Jamie Harrison. There's even Gary Peters in Michigan. There's Sarah Gideon in Maine. And, of course, also donate to people like Ilhan Omar in Minnesota. Progressives, to keep progressive majorities, to keep progressive Democrats in office, and to keep them from falling into the hands of Republican challengers. Do not waste your money on Amy McGrath, because she is lighting it on fire and helping Trump. All right. There we go. Thank you for going around the nation meet today. Big turnout. Great ratings. Tremendous ratings. New time zones, or time slots working out pretty well. All right. Please like and share if you haven't already. Consider becoming a patron or a channel member or donating to our fundraising campaign. We're doing that to just get some new equipment, some better stuff, make the show a little bit better, make it run a little bit better on the computers that I have and all that stuff. So if you want to help that out, there's a link in the description below. To all of you, thank you for joining me. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, Nation. We'll see you guys later.
Tolerate. Thailand. See the sunrise. Mike Pence.
Tighten up my meat. Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.